Hello friends, a very good day to you. Today we shall be talking about Muhammad bin Qasim, okay? And Muhammad bin Qasim's chapter and its relevance to the history of India is that of the Arab conquest of Sindh, okay? And the Arab conquest of Sindh cannot be separated from the larger discussion of the history of Islamdom itself, because Islamdom, as it emerged during the AD 600s, okay, it was a religion which was proselytizing in nature, okay? Okay, it was a proselytizing religion, a religion based upon the idea that it needs to spread, and therefore it was consequently expansionist. And this tendency within Islam to expand, this is how India was introduced to the political, you know, political form of Islam. All right. It was not just a religious form of Islam that came into India, but it was an Islam which was based upon the idea that upon occupation of a particular territory, it also has to politically establish itself within that particular territory. And Muhammad bin Qasim's chapter in Indian history, and also the Arab conquest of Sindh in Indian history, is part of this political aspect of Islam, and also automatically the religious aspect of Islam also, but it is also part of the political aspect of Islam. And consequently the Sultanate period and also the Mughal period is part of a larger history of global Islam, okay. So having keeping that in mind, it can also be called one of the causes behind the coming of the Arabs into Sindh. Another cause can be related with the trading practices. Now, as far as contact with Arabia, Indian contact with Arabia is concerned, we have to remember that even before the advent of Islam, India had been in constant contact with Arabia through the medium of trade. Now, through this medium also, it was learned by Arabia that India is a rich society, okay. Indian society, Indian geography, it is very rich in resources, and therefore, since an expansionist form of political system requires resources, it can also be stated that the coming of Islam into India was also one of the motivations behind it was the search for resources, okay. Now this can be broadly said to have been causative agents behind the coming of Islam into India, or behind the Arab conquest of Sindh. But what what immediate cause percolated in the expansion of Islam into Indian subcontinent? Now let us look at the chapter of Muhammad bin Qasim, because he is the part of the immediate cause of the Arabs coming into Sindh, okay. Now it is said that the ruler of Sri Lanka was sending some orphan children, or in some sources it is also said that he was sending some women as presents to the Caliph, okay, the Caliph of Islam, who was based out of the Middle East at that point of time, okay. They had come out of Arabia and had established themselves in the in Syria, in Iraq, in Egypt, okay. So the Caliph was based in the Middle East, okay. So the ruler of Sri Lanka was sending some gifts and some women to the Caliph, and this contingent of gifts and women, it was looted in the port of Debal. Now, Debal was under the rulership of Dahir, who was the ruler of Sindh at that point of time, and therefore the governor of Basra, okay, the Islamic governor of Basra, he asked for Dahir to, he provided Dahir with an ultimatum to, to send some kind of reparations, or capture the pirates and punish them. But Dahir was unable to do that, or Dahir refused to do that, and therefore begins the conquest of Sindh by Muhammad bin Qasim. Now Hajjaj, who was the governor of Basra, Hajjaj had a son-in-law and also a nephew by the name of Muhammad bin Qasim, and it was under Muhammad bin Qasim that Hajjaj sent the expeditionary forces into Sindh. Now, Muhammad bin Qasim, when he arrived at Sindh, he fought with Dahir, the ruler of Sindh, near the fort of Raur, okay. And he was able to defeat Dahir and he was able to kill him off. But after the death of Dahir, his wife, that is his widow, Rani Bai, put up a stiff resistance again against Muhammad bin Qasim. But when the widow realized that she was not going to win this battle with Muhammad bin Qasim, she, along with some of the leading ladies of the fort, they committed what will be known, what is known to us as Jauhar, okay, that is self-immolation. They committed self-immolation, and therefore Muhammad bin Qasim was able to establish himself in Raur, okay. And from there on, he proceeded towards Brahmanabad. Now, Brahmanabad was being held by Jai Singh, okay. Jai Singh being the son of Dahir, okay, and Jai Singh also put up a resistance against Muhammad bin Qasim, but Jai Singh again was defeated, although not killed off. Jai Singh was defeated, and Muhammad bin Qasim was able to take up the fort that Jai Singh was defending, and in doing so, Muhammad bin Qasim also took possession of Rani Ladi, who was another widowed wife of Dahir, and along with Rani Ladi, he also took possession of her two daughters, okay. From there on, Muhammad bin Qasim moved into Alor, and also from Alor he moved into Multan, and he was able to, therefore, after the capture of Multan, he was able to proclaim himself the ruler of the entirety of Sindh. And from Sindh, he also made attempts to come into northern India, but he could not do that because of the presence of the Pratiharas and the Chalukyas. The Pratiharas and the Chalukyas would be able to resist the Arab conquest of Sindh throughout this entire period, and because of the presence of the Pratiharas and Chalukyas, the Arab conquest of Sindh remains, it remains confined to Sindh, and they cannot move into mainland India, okay. So this is how the chapter of Muhammad bin Qasim's invasion of Sindh unfolds, okay. After the after the proclamation of the occupation of Sindh, Muhammad bin Qasim is again called back into into the caliphate. Why? Because it seems the two daughters that were sent off as booty to the caliph, the two daughters of Rani Ladi, they complained that Muhammad bin Qasim had violated them, okay. And some sources also say that Muhammad bin Qasim, there was a faction within the caliphate who were not happy with Muhammad bin Qasim, and therefore Muhammad bin Qasim was recalled, okay, when either the two daughters of Rani Ladi, they complained that they have been violated by Muhammad bin Qasim, or otherwise because some sources state, as I have already told you, that there was some kind of conflict of interest within the court. Regardless of the cause, Muhammad bin Qasim is called back to the caliphate, and he is tortured to death out there, okay. So after the death of Muhammad bin Qasim, okay, what happens in Arabia? What happens in Sindh? After the death of Muhammad bin Qasim, Sindh, Jai Singh, the ousted ruler of Brahmanabad, again tries to take back Brahmanabad and succeeds, but he is then again defeated by Junaid. Junaid, who is the governor of Sindh at that point of time, okay. So this is the end of the line of Dahir within Sindh, and with this, the Arabs, you see, they established themselves in Sindh as rulers of Sindh. But however, we have to remind ourselves that they, in this phase of attack upon the Indian subcontinent, in this phase, because of the presence of the Pratiharas and the Chalukyas, they are unable to penetrate within India. Now this feat will then again be repeated by Mahmud Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori, and together, all right, firstly by Ghazni and then Ghori, they will succeed in penetrating into mainland India, and from then on the chapter of the Delhi Sultanate will unfold. So, this is a very small chapter within the history of the Indian subcontinent, but this is an important chapter because this is the first time in which, you see, in India, okay, Indian subcontinent comes in close contact with the political form of Islam, which I have tried to explain to you in this video, okay, that it was the nature of Islam was quite novel to the Indian subcontinent. The nature of Islam, the nature of Islamdom that collided with India at this particular juncture of Indian history was quite novel to India, and it would lead up to the establishment of Islamic kingdoms within India, the Sultanate, Delhi Sultanate, and then on the Mughal Empire in India. Okay, so as in the beginning, as I have already explained, that this is part of the larger discussion upon Islamdom in the entirety of the world. I hope it is quite clear to you now, and I hope that you will be studying hard. With that, I take your leave. Thank you.